السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. معكم سعيد سالم الحبسي، نائب رئيس مجلس إدارة جمعية أصدقاء ذو التصلب اللويحي المتعدد في دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة. طبعا بعطيكم نبذة عن الجمعية. تعتبر جمعية أصدقاء ذو التصلب اللويحي الإماراتي أول جمعية في دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة تعني بالتشخيص بالتصلب اللويحي، وهي جمعية ذات نفع عام تابعة للشؤون الاجتماعية لدولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة. تم إشهار الجمعية بقرار وزاري رقم 628 بتاريخ 5 نوفمبر 2009 في مدينة العين. طبعاً الجمعية الآن إن شاء الله بتكون على أيامنا القادمة ستتحول إلى إمارة أبو ظبي. تتكون الجمعية من مجموعة من المواطنين والمتطوعين من مختلف التخصصات تعني بتوفير الدعم السريري والنفسي والمعنوي لذو التصلب اللويحي المتعدد وعائلتهم. طبعاً نحن يا إخواني نجتمع شهرياً مع المرضى، بروحهم يتجمعون ويعملون لهم تجمع خاص بدون ما تتدخل الجمعية، بس الجمعية تشرف عليهم وجزاهم الله خير. المرضى بروحهم يتم يتجمعون مع بعض من جميع بالنواحي. لماذا؟ أن نفسهم يعني الأصدقاء هم بروحهم يتجمعون يعني في أماكن ترفيهية، إذا كان مثل بالمبزرة أو في أبو ظبي أو في العين، لأن ذو الاحتياجات الخاصة بينهم من أصدقائنا يوم يتجمعون أفضل لنا أن نحن نكون نتجاوز، يعني نكون موجودين معاهم. طبعاً عندنا بعض من المشاركات الداخلية والمشاركات الخارجية. الحين بعرض لكم بعض الصور للمشاركات الداخلية. طبعاً تلاحظون الصورة الأولية على جهة اليمين، هذيل الأطفال هم أولادهم. فنحن مش اللي شملنا بس ذو الاحتياجات الخاصة من الأصدقاء، حتى أولادهم لنا من الحالة النفسية يوم نكون نحن موجودين معاهم، وبالطريقة هاي نعطي حالة طيبة للأصدقاء معانا. وطبعاً هاي صورة تجمعنا في منتزه خليفة في أبو ظبي. طبعاً هذا تكريم مناسبات تكون موجودة معانا. هاي الصورة في إمارة دبي، وهاي الصورة موجودة في مدينة العين. طبعاً هذا التجمعات نعملها في شهر رمضان المبارك، بيكونوا الأصدقاء معانا موجودين، فمثل ما تشوفون نحن لا فرق بيننا، كنا نكون مع بعض. طبعاً هاي الصورة يا إخواني هي المشاركات الخارجية. طبعاً دولة الإمارات دائماً يتم استعادة لخارج الدولة، وهاي في مملكة البحرين هي الدورة الثانية. هذه الصورة في دولة الكويت الشقيقة كانت أول ملتقى عندنا، هو اللي تجمع لأصدقاء ذو الاحتياجات الخاصة ومرض التصلب اللويحي. فالصورة الأولية كانت أول دورة موجودة معانا. طبعاً الصورة الثانية في مملكة البحرين. الصورة الأولية طبعاً يا إخواني نحن يوم مسكنا الجمعية فلكان كنا لازم نعرف كيف الأسس أو هذا، فتم اختيار المملكة الأردنية الهاشمية أن تكون أول دولة نروح يعني ناخذ منها الفكرة ونشوف نثبت يعني خبرتهم في هذا التخصص. فالصورة الأولية كانت في المملكة الأردنية الهاشمية. طبعاً قلنا خلاص نرجع إلى دولة الإمارات ونختار دولة خليجية، فتم اختيار إلى دولة الكويت أنها تكون الدولة الخليجية الأولى للاستشاف والتعرف ونعرف كيف الإجراءات اللي تحصل معاهم للاستفادة من إخواننا الأصدقاء. فأنا أشكركم إخواني على حضوركم اليوم في المنتدى عندنا، وأتمنى لكم التوفيق الجميع، وشكراً.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much. I'd like to first thank Her Royal Highness and the Muntada Foundation for this great, terrific honor for me to be here to share with you some ideas about resilience in MS. Lots of exciting things now. So we'll be talking about resilience in life MS, and when we think about MS in the United States, there are many, many faces now with MS. There are entertainers, there are singers, Hollywood actresses, musicians with MS. So it's good to create that dialogue and put a face to MS. I have 3 friends myself who have MS, and I've kind of followed their journey over the years. What I'd like to do tonight is 4 things. One is I'd like to review for you some things about MS, demographics, who gets MS, why, what kind of factors are involved, and how we to kind of think about the immune system with MS, and also how we diagnose MS with MRI pictures. Second, I'd like to talk about how we treat the symptoms of MS, such as fatigue, cognition, sometimes called the MS fog, and heat sensitivity. I'd also like to talk a little bit about the MS medications. So the medications for treatment, now there are 15. So 15 medications we use for MS, including one that also has been shown to help progressive forms of MS for the very first time. And finally, I'd like to talk about what about the things you could do to modify your MS? What about the role of exercise and diet and supplements and stress reduction? Those things are very, very important for that whole mind-body connection. So to review MS, first we think of MS as a condition that affects approximately 2.5 million people around the world. Average age is young. Average age is about 30 years old. It's much more common in women than men by a ratio of about 3 to 1. And there are also different types of MS. We used to think of 4 types, but now it's been modified to really 3 types of MS. One is called relapsing remitting MS. It's about 85% of patients with MS. And secondary progressive MS. And also about 15% of people have what's called primary progressive MS, which can have relapses or no relapses. So there are different types of multiple sclerosis. There are many factors that go into MS. We know that sometimes infection may be playing a role. For example, Epstein-Barr virus has some effect, perhaps. We know that genetics play a role. People with MS, about 20% of people with MS can think of somebody in their family, a cousin, a grandparent, a sister with MS. So there are some genetics, but it's not the whole story. If you have MS, what is the chance that your child will have MS? It's actually very low. It's only about 4%. So it's a 96% chance that your child will not have MS. So genetics is part of the story, but not the whole story. We also know that MS is much more common in Caucasians than it is in Emiratis, Middle Easterners, Asians, Latinos. We know that MS is more common in women. In fact, after pregnancy, after having a baby, MS sometimes gets a little bit worse temporarily. And then we also know that MS is much more common in northern latitudes, away from the equator, where there's less sun, which makes vitamin D in your skin. And when you look at the map of the world where MS is prevalent, you see the dark red areas are over 100 people with MS in 100,000 people. And so you see the reddish, darkest red are in Canada, United States, UK, northern Scandinavian countries like Sweden, Denmark, etc. And in fact, every hour in the United States, every hour there's a new person diagnosed with MS. So it really varies depending on where in the world you are and how far you are away from the equator. Let's talk about MS immunology. My research was neuroimmunology, how the brain communicates with the immune system. And so I'm Asian, everything's about food, and I use food analogies. So you can think of the brain as an orange. So the peel, that outside peel, is the gray matter, the cortex, the gray matter of the brain. That's the part of the brain with your neurons that do your thinking, your music, your math, your speech, your memory. If you peel away the peel of that thick orange, you're left with the juicy pulp, the fruit. And that's called the white matter of the brain. And that's primarily more wires and cables, just like under your desk in your computer. MS is thought to primarily affect the white matter of the brain. With regard to the immune system, your immune system is designed to protect you from all the bad things out there, protect you from bacteria infection, virus infection, fungal infection. In Los Angeles, the bad things being traffic and carbohydrates that make you gain weight and wrinkles for which we use Botox. But the immune system in MS is too busy. It's too active, it's too good. And if you think about, well, what parts of the immune system? There are different parts. There are the T cells that kind of regulate the immune system. And there are also the B cells, which squirt out and secrete antibodies. So if you get a vaccine shot for chickenpox or a vaccine for polio, then that helps protect you. There are many types of T cells. For example, some T cells we don't like. For example, here, the Th1 cells and the Th17 cells, those are bad in multiple sclerosis because they cause more inflammation. We like things like the Th2 cell. Here's a cartoon where you can kind of think about MS as a balance system. You know, martial arts, yin yang, right? Wax on, wax off, as we were talking earlier. If you look on the left side, these are some of the cells, the Th1 cells and Th17 cells. Those increase inflammation in MS. We don't like those. We like more of the Th2 two cells in what's called the T regulatory cell. Now, these cells form a delicate balance, and with MS, unfortunately, there's too much inflammation. So tonight, we'll talk about some things that you could do to change that. Not only do the 15 medications that we use for MS change that balance to more of this side, but also there's some foods and some other supplements we'll talk about as well. Keep in mind, a lot of this is very new. The research is exploding. For example, the Th17 cell here, that was only discovered in 2007 when your iPhone came out. So there's always new things we're trying to learn with MS. The big picture is with MS, we know that the B cells and then the T cells that regulate the immune system, they're swimming in the bloodstream. They cross what's called the blood-brain barrier, and it goes into the blue area, which is the brain and the spinal cord. And there, they secrete chemicals, and it causes inflammation along the nerve. So you can think of your nerves as kind of electrical cable or a wire, and that rubber coating around those nerves is called myelin. So when that gets irritated by the immune system, it's called demyelination. And that shows up as the bright spots that we could see on an MRI scan. So let's take a look at what the MRI scans look like. With diagnosing MS, MRI scans is the main thing we use, but well, what do we do before MRIs were available? For example, before the 1970s, they did something called the hot bath test. Why? Because many people with MS are very, very hot, as warm in here, and very heat sensitive. So if some people with MS, if they're out in the sun or in a hot tub jacuzzi, sometimes it can temporarily bring out some of the MS symptoms, such as blurry eyes or numbness or fatigue. That's called UTOF's phenomenon. It won't be on the test, but it's called UTOF's. And so patients would be examined who we thought maybe have MS, and finger to nose, walking in a line, this type of thing, and then they would be put in a hot bath for maybe 20 minutes, and then examined again to see, oh, is it a little bit different now? Has their exam changed? It was called the hot bath test. And then in 1977, MRIs were developed, and then by 1981, MRIs were developed and used in the diagnosis of MS. And this is what MRIs look like now. You lay it on a table, it moves into a tube, kind of like a donut. So these are typical pictures of MRI scans of the brain. You see there's some bright spots here. So that's demyelination, what we talked about before, when the covering of the nerve gets irritated, inflamed by your immune system being too good, too busy. There's also spots here that light up when people are given the IV injection. Those are called contrast-enhancing lesions or spots, and they tend to be a little bit more active. There are spots that appear dark on some of the sequences, some of the pictures. And those are more kind of where the wiring itself, called the axon, gets affected. Not so much the covering of the nerve, but the axon. And then finally, you could see spots in the spinal cord here as well. But with any new technology, they're always trying to upgrade. There's new software. There's new, better ways to look at things. So how do we use some of those MRI techniques to our advantage to learn more about things? Well, we look at brain atrophy, which means shrinkage of the brain. Everybody's brain shrinks. It's part of normal aging. Just like we get wrinkles, everybody's brain shrinks normally. But normally it's about 0.3% per year. However, if you have MS and you're not on a treatment for MS, then the brain does shrink a little bit faster, 0.7% roughly. And then if you have a progressive form of MS, it might be even higher, 0.9 or 1% per year. So we always want people to be more like this brain, and those 15 different medications have been shown to help decrease the brain atrophy, brain shrinkage, as well as cardiac exercise we could talk about, as well as some supplements have also shown some new data slowing down atrophy or brain shrinkage. So even if you are feeling fine, not having MS attacks or not having new spots, if you're not on MS medication, unfortunately, the atrophy does go faster than it normally would go. There are new techniques. There's something called DTI, diffusion tensor imaging, where you can actually look at the tracks and the pathways of the nerves. There's also something called myelin water fraction, where you can actually measure the myelin, the rubber coating around the nerves. For all of you Star Wars fans, this is kind of like the Darth Maul of MRI scans. But how do we treat MS? There are different ways we approach treatment. There are three main things. One is we could treat the acute attack, so an attack or relapse or an exacerbation. That would be somebody who's having symptoms that are significant that last more than 24 hours. And we usually use steroids, pills, IV steroids, or ACTH. Or we also use medications for symptom treatment, which we'll talk about in depth. And then we also have the MS treatment medications, of which there are 15 that actually change the course of MS. And those medications are very important. What are some common symptoms of MS, multiple sclerosis? Everybody's different. Some people have more tingling, numbness. Some people may have a little eye problem. Some people may have some weakness or balance issues, walking around, or bladder. But the single most common thing is fatigue. Fatigue is the single most common symptom of MS. So how do we start treating and thinking about treating those symptoms? So for example, if you're thinking about fatigue and cognition, sometimes we call that MS fog, what can you do about it? Well, certainly for fatigue, the first thing we do is we make sure you're getting good sleep. We want to make sure that you're not drinking too much coffee, tea at night, and having trouble with insomnia. We want to make sure that, for example, you don't have what's called sleep apnea. A lot of people snore, but sometimes people kind of gasp when they're sleeping, and that's sleep apnea, very common, very treatable, but that's a very common cause of fatigue the next day. So we make sure the sleep is optimized. If, however, the sleep is good quality sleep, then sometimes we use pills that are stimulants. We also use some antidepressants that have kind of an activating feature, and those things can be very, very helpful for helping the fatigue with MS. Also, know your body. If you need to take a nap, then yes, it's okay to say no to an obligation or an event and take a nap. So getting good sleep, resting, but also sometimes we use medications that can be very helpful as well. What about cognition, the MS fog? Well, same thing with fatigue. We want to make sure you're getting good sleep, reducing stress. Exercise has been shown to be helpful. Dietary things we'll talk about, because there's some interesting dietary studies as far as consumption and eating things like fish and possibly fish oils. And also, we want to make sure we have the medications available too to help people focus to get done what they need to get done. People often ask, well, what about in neurology, the medications that we use for patients with Alzheimer's dementia and memory issues? Do those work in MS? They've been studied, but they've shown not to work. What about the UTAS phenomenon, the heat sensitivity? Well, one thing is to stay cool and to certainly hydrate, keep covered. There are a number of different devices people can use for wraps or scarves or even a cooling vest. Some of them are free, provided by the MS Association of America. The website is there, mymsaa.org. And that can be put in a freezer, and then when taken out, it can last for several hours, staying cool. We also use, of course, hydration, ice. In the US, of course, we have ice cube, iced tea, and vanilla ice, many types of ice. What about pills? There's a pill called 4-aminopyridine that we often use for the heat fatigue, for people who are very sensitive to being out in the Emirati sun. What about walking and balance? There's a medication called famipridine. I think I spelled it wrong. It's actually famipridine without the MIP. Famipridine is called Empira in the United States. That's a medication that's been shown to help walking speed and walking balance. What about bladder symptoms? One of my favorite tricks is for people who are getting up quite a few times at night to go to the bathroom. They're not getting good sleep because they're getting out of bed 3-4 times at night. Well, there's a nasal spray we use called desmopressin. It's a hormonal spray that can be very effective to decrease the number of times people have to go to the bathroom. There are also many pills that we use. There are also some bladder exercises, and Botox has also been used for bladder symptoms. So lots of options. What about LDN? Low-dose naltrexone is a pill that in one study, about approximately 80 patients, it did show some benefit in pain, cognition, again, that MS fog, and also a sense of well-being. And it was a double-blinded, placebo-controlled study. Very interesting. But when you look, where are the data? Where's the best data? So the best data are really found in these 15 medications. All 15 of them have been shown to do 3 things. Number 1, they decrease number of relapses or attacks. Number 2, they decrease number of spots on the MRI scan. And then number 3, all 15 have been shown to slow down the progression of MS. Interestingly, many of them have also been shown to decrease brain shrinkage and brain atrophy. Again, which is something that we're starting to learn more about. One of them was studied in a long-term study of 21 years. And taking that medication for 21 years showed it cut down mortality, risk of death, by about 46 to 47%. So there's some benefit to these medications. What are they? There are 15 of them now. When I was in training, there was only one, and then it blossomed because of research. So if you look at this like a clock, at the very top, the very first medication came out in 1993, 24 years ago, the interferons. And there are a few different brands. And if you go around the clock, these are all the different years. So if you come down to fingolimod, for example, that was the first pill, the first of 3 pills available for MS, and that came out September 22nd, 2010 in the United States. If you go around further, these are the more recent medications, and the most recent one was ocrelizumab, That was just available March 28th, about 2 months ago. And that is the first medication ever to be shown to be useful not only for relapsing MS, but for primary progressive MS. There's some interesting studies now looking at some other things that seem to have some help in secondary progressive MS as well. So these are all options for patients. Everybody's different. We always try to discuss and dialogue to see, is there a medication that might be appropriate for somebody with MS? So of these MS medications, some are injection medications in the skin and the muscle. Some are intravenous, so sometimes IV, intravenous once a month, or once every 6 months, or there's one that's once per year. And then there are also 3 pills that you take orally available for MS. So there are really 15 medications to choose from, and then many more on the horizon that are being researched. Well, what about lifestyle choices? What can you do, what can we all do to change your immune system, the mind-body connection? What about exercise? What about diet? What about stress reduction? So exercise has been shown to help MS. Not only does it help decrease risk of heart disease, high blood pressure, other studies show that cardiac exercise, aerobic exercise, can actually reduce brain shrinkage and decrease risks of Alzheimer's dementia, but very important for MS because it really changes your brain chemistry. I'm also honored to be here in Abu Dhabi as a martial artist myself. Everyone knows Abu Dhabi is one of the world's capitals of the greatest jiu-jitsu tournaments in the world for many years now. What else? What about diet? What can you do with diet? Well, if you look around the world, there are many different things. Everyone's always trying to figure out, is there an MS diet? Is there something I should be doing, changing or supplementing my diet? So no one diet is proven to definitely help MS, but there are a number of ones that are interesting. The oldest one is called the Swank diet from around 1950, Dr. Swank in the Portland, Oregon area. And that's certainly a healthy diet, decreases risk of high blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, but it is not shown to help MS, even though it's certainly a very healthy diet, eating more polyunsaturated fats and staying away from the creams and the butters and the saturated fats. The second diet there, the Walls diet, is kind of a modified paleo diet, and if you have questions, we could talk about it during question and answer period. And Terry Walls is a doctor in Iowa who herself has MS, and it's what she designed that seems to have helped her. But again, it's not been studied or proven to help MS. In my opinion, from an immunology background, the one diet that does actually have some interesting scientific evidence, both in a mouse model of MS as well as in patients, is what's called the 5-2 diet. This is kind of popularized in England for weight loss, but 5 days a week, you eat fairly normally, fairly well, but 2 days per week, you kind of fast or limit your calories to only 500 calories or 700 calories. And by doing that, it kind of resets your clock or reboots your computer, and there's something beneficial to that. And I'll talk about some of the other interesting data in a moment. But the 5-2 diet was studied in both the mouse model and in patients. In the mouse model MS, it shut down the inflammation in the mouse model. So even from where you're sitting, I think you could see that those inflammatory cells we don't like, the Th17 cells, the Th1 cells, they're less, when you look under the microscope, they're not there, they're shut down. Likewise, the mice that were treated with the 5-2 diet had myelin. So the covering of the nerve was no longer degraded and inflamed. It was still actually intact here. They did a small study of patients as well on the 5-2 diet for about 6 months, and it did have some positive results also. So to me, that's a very interesting diet to explore further. There's a study in Belgium from November 25th, 2011, 1,372 patients, almost 1,400 patients, and it showed that those patients that ate fish a few times a week or drank caffeine or had some alcohol all did a little bit better than people who didn't. So there might be something there, and sometimes we'll recommend considering fish oils or those omega-3 fatty acids. Of course, I work in the United States, and we deal with, of course, the typical American diet, which includes the 4 basic food groups. We have your ice cream, your pizza, your chocolate, and your other. So very tasty, but unfortunately not so helpful for MS. What about dietary supplements? What can you take that's not a prescription? What can you do to change your immune system, change your mind-body connection? Well, vitamin D has some very interesting studies for many years now. There's no question that vitamin D has a very good effect on the immune system to kind of decrease inflammation. Again, those cells we like, the Treg cells, and also the cells that we don't like are kind of quieted down, those Th17 cells. In fact, when we check blood tests for vitamin D, the levels go from about 30 to 100 as normal. However, patients who are above 50, they do better with their MS. They actually have less attacks, they have less spots on the MRI scan, they have less progression and less brain shrinkage. So this is a very interesting thing that we actually monitor and make sure people's vitamin D levels are higher than normal. Again, 30 to 100 being normal. I personally like patients on the higher range, the 70 to 90 range. What about salt, dietary salt? Turns out that MS patients who consume high salt diet, people with MS, they do worse. They have almost 4 times as many attacks as people with MS who are on a low salt diet. So there's something about salt that may have a role as well. What about the gut microbiome? I could spend all day talking about this. We have more bacteria in your gut, in your intestines, about 37 trillion, than you have cells in your body, which is only about 30 trillion. So there's a lot of things going on with the bacteria in your gut. It turns out the bacteria in your gut are very different if somebody has MS. So people with MS have higher bacteria, like Methanobrevibacter smithii, or they have a certain type of Clostridium perfringens, which secretes an epsilon toxin that actually is toxic to the covering of the nerve, the myelin. And then patients, people who have MS, who have parasite infections, they, for some reason, do better than people with MS who don't. In fact, they're doing some studies now using parasites as a treatment for MS. The group at Harvard, at the Brigham Hospital, has done some very interesting work looking at the gut microbiome and trying to determine, well, which bacteria are increased in people with MS and which ones are lower, and is there something we can do about it? In fact, they did a study recently using probiotics, and that did show preliminary that it does change the immune system. Those cells we like, the Treg cells, were actually increased. And so it does seem to affect the immune inflammation in the gut as well. So what is that connection between the gut bacteria in your intestines and your immune system? Well, it turns out that the bacteria in your intestines actually are the main food source. They produce something called short-chain fatty acids. Very important. Short-chain fatty acids, and short-chain fatty acids in turn decrease inflammation. So they help the Treg cells that we like, and they decrease the Th17 cells that we don't like. There are also a number of food sources that you can increase your short-chain fatty acids, such as the oats and barley and starches, the pectins, and the fructooligosaccharides. And then there's an interesting study looking at a supplement that also breaks down to short-chain fatty acids. That supplement is called ALA, alpha lipoic acid. A small study of 54 patients, followed for 96 weeks, almost 2 years, and they're given alpha lipoic acid, and over 2 years, it actually shut down and decreased the brain shrinkage by 66%. So if you look here, yes, the patients taking the supplement, alpha lipoic acid, were here compared to people who didn't take it, where their rate of brain shrinkage actually was much higher. So that's interesting that a supplement would have that kind of effect on brain shrinkage. And again, with the brain shrinkage, we want everyone over here and not so much over here. And to think that the 15 MS medications can help prevent atrophy, this supplement, alpha lipoic acid, and there are even some other medications we could talk about. They've also been shown to slow down and decrease the brain shrinkage. If you have more brain shrinkage, you might wonder, well, what does that mean? Well, that puts people at more risk for having more cognitive issues or dementia many years, decades later. What about stress? What happens when somebody takes my ice cream? Very stressful. So does stress have a role with MS? Interesting study. They took 120 patients. Half of them they gave talk therapy, just talking, nothing fancy, just talking about stress, emotions, depression, anxiety, once a week for 24 weeks, and the other half they didn't. Well, what happened? In that 24 weeks, it turns out it decreased the number of spots on their MRI scan. This is mind-blowing to think that stress reduction, and I think Mr. Mahmood is going to talk about this as well, can affect your immune system to actually decrease the number of spots on the MRI scan by 22 to 27%. And then when they stopped the therapy for the next 24 weeks and followed them, then the spots kind of went back to where they normally would be compared to the other group. So stress reduction is very, very critical for MS. But we always say, look, don't believe everything you hear, especially on the internet. You have to trust the good information. Sometimes things sound good, but hey, they're still dangerous. So even if a lion is beautiful hair day, it's still a lion, right? So you have to be cautious. So what does the future hold for MS? What do we have coming up? We have new ways to hopefully diagnose MS more quickly. For example, a blood test for microRNA, a very hot thing. Also, instead of getting a spinal tap, I had a spinal tap lumbar puncture when I was doing my PhD. Many of you may have had that. But now they're looking at tears. Can you get the same information from just tears? What about a breath test? There are 2 different groups that have looked at a breath test to try to diagnose MS. So many new things. There's also a skin patch that's being studied to try to treat MS. There are also many therapies. For example, what about the covering of the nerve, the myelin? Can you rebuild that? Yes, there are a few trials looking at rebuilding the myelin. Also, there's some new monoclonal antibodies that are being developed for the treatment of inflammation in MS, and also stem cell therapy, what we used to think of as bone marrow transplant. There are many different types now, and that is also being studied and has some interesting preliminary results in MS. So many pills are being studied. I won't go through all of these, I'll just highlight a few. One is siponimod. That's the only medication right now that shows any benefit for secondary progressive MS. Very exciting. Clemistine is actually an antihistamine for allergies. And then also the statins, the cholesterol medications, simvastatin, Zocor, atorvastatin, Lipitor, some of the most commonly used medications in the world, also have been shown to decrease brain atrophy, brain shrinkage by up to 43% in people with secondary progressive MS. So a very exciting time. So if you look at all these medications, the 15 choices we have, this kind of buffet, because again, everything's food to me, how good a job are we doing around the world? Well, it depends. For example, in Germany and Australia, about 70%, 65% of people with MS are being treated with these medications, but in the US, only about 40% of people. In the UK, only about 25% of people. So we need to do a better job. We need to educate more. We need to have people understand the good things and bad things about medications, and that communication, I think we need to improve upon. So how do we combine some old ideas with new ideas? This is never better exemplified by an exhibit I went to at the Warehouse 421 Gallery, where they talked two exhibits. One was Lest We Forget, which really beautifully highlighted some of the Emirati pearl stories, hinted on the generations of traditions, as well as some of the jewelry, the swords, the daggers. It was spectacular. And the other part was In Between, kind of an examination of people's duality, how you make change and how you accommodate change. And one of the lines I remember yesterday seeing really kind of conceptualized this, and the line was, continuous transformation is the reality of the present moment. So, we have to make some changes. We have to be able to give and take. If you're having a good day, you can do this. If you're having a bad day, you can do that. But to make progress, we must be able to change and adapt. We have to remember that MS is about ability, what you can do, not about disability. It's what you can do. You got to keep moving the mind, keep moving the body. And you take charge of MS. So, yes, we encourage exercise, physical therapy, speech therapy, taking your medications. We encourage, yes, engaging your physician or your nurse, talking to people and really understanding. Come with questions. Come to programs like this. Ask questions, because again, knowledge is power. And we attend programs so we can learn from each other. How do people stay informed? There are many things. On the internet, there are many websites listed here, and I don't know if we might have a handout as well, which I had prepared. And there's also some social media MS things that I think we'll hear about in a moment as well. There are apps you can download on your phone to kind of chronicle your symptoms and your MS treatments, and also interact with others. So here are some of my own thoughts to conclude for resilience. How do we stay resilient? Well, one is, yes, I want you to exercise. I want you to have good sleep. We want to reduce your stress, because that really affects the mind-body connection. What else? A diet, perhaps a little bit more heavy in fish, vegetables, like the Mediterranean diet, or the Walls diet, or even considering the 5-2 diet, and perhaps less red meat, less preserved foods, less sugar. So those types of things. What about supplements? Vitamin D, I like to know what your vitamin D level is. Short-chain fatty acids, well, there's some foods we talked about that may increase that. Taking fish oils or omega-3 fatty acids may be helpful. And then I could talk all day about the anthocyanins. There are these things called polyphenols that are in plants, basically, and there are many types of polyphenols. Flavonoids is one of the large groups, and one of the flavonoids is called anthocyanins. They're found in a lot of the purple foods. And very interesting that, yes, people who eat things like blueberries and these purple foods like eggplant, blueberries, purple corn, they can actually, in one study, decrease risk of getting Parkinson's disease by about 40% by just eating berries. Even Alzheimer's dementia, risk is decreased about 39% by eating berries, blueberries, strawberries. So there's something about this anthocyanin group that I could talk to you all day about, and how you might supplement your diet. And then also, if you're a person with MS, then consider things like the alpha-lipoic acid, or the naltrexone, or propionic acid, those short-chain fatty acids, to really change your immune system in an interesting way. I'll finish with talking about one of my patients. This is somebody she was diagnosed with MS at age 19, Her very first symptom was difficulty with speech, just kind of speech arrest. She had a cup of coffee, still didn't work, she still could not talk. And then over time, with MRI scans, she was diagnosed with MS. That was her second or third opinion. And I had her on a medication. She did fairly well, but had some side effects, so we switched her to a second medication, and that seemed to work better. But then she moved out of Los Angeles, moved out so I didn't know what happened to her. She came back several years later after having a baby, and remember, after a childbirth, some women get a little bit worse, and she was not doing well. She could no longer walk. She was using a walker and a cane, and even though she kept a healthy lifestyle, she wanted to try just that alone, just acupuncture, diet, stress reduction, that type of thing, and certainly healthy, but she stopped the medication that we had prescribed for MS for 7 years. So we had a heart-to-heart talk. We decided our goals were the same, that we wanted her to be able to get her moving back, get her energy back, and she agreed to restart a medication, so I chose a third medication. And then what happened? Well, several months later, she ran the Santa Barbara Marathon. So she actually did very well. So again, everybody's different. This is not going to be true for everybody, but we always want to dialogue and try to find out what's best, because we know that everybody's different with MS. We embrace those differences. A wise person told me and explained the beauty of Emirati pearls, and how the pearls here have different names according to their shape and their beauty, like Hessa, for example. And so, yes, the pearls are different, but in all, we're all pearls of the same necklace of society. And we embrace those differences, but we share common things. We share birthdays, we share hopes, we share dreams, and we share ways to kind of connect that mind-body connection. So we also share stress. So stress reduction, I think, is very helpful. And even from an immune standpoint, you see that it could change the spots on an MRI scan. That's interesting and very simple. So stress reduction is important. So I finished, finally, with talking about all of us should really aim high and keep moving your mind, keep moving your body. And with that, I would say, thank you very much. Shukran.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. The mic works, right? تشخصت بالمرض في 2009. طبعا في 2009 في ذاك الوقت كان الوضع شوي مو بوايد سهل. يعني يوم عطونا المرض وقالوا لنا شنو فيك بالضبط، قال لك تصلب متعدد، اعطاك اياها في ورقه. في ناس وايد كانت عندهم مشكله في الموضوع. يعني الواحد اللي بيروح يدور، انا والله صادني تصلب متعدد، انا واحد مصاب ولا انا مريض ولا انا شنو بالضبط، فبيروح بيدور. فياتني الشغله اللي نشوف ربعنا العرب، ربعنا الخليجيين. لحظه ندش على انستغرام ولا ندش على تويتر ونشيك الهاشتاج. تعرفون كلمه الواحد قال الحمد لله ويحط لكم باك جراوند اسود؟ شلون الحمد لله مالته طالعه؟ فصايره كانه مو يحمد الله، كانه يندب حظه انه هو صار فيه. رحت دورتها بالانجليزي، شفتها غير، شفت ان عندهم الواحد يتبسم، عندهم الحياه ماشيه. فبديت هني على السوشيال ميديا شوي، طلعت على فيسبوك، شفت الاوادم اللي عندي هناك في فيسبوك. كانت عندي واحده يده عندها 3 عيال، عيالها متزوجين وعندهم عيال، كانت تشتغل في الشرطه، امورها طيبه وتوها متقاعده عقب 20 سنه مع المرض. قلت يمكن الجو عندهم غير، بس البنيه في استراليا عباره ان الجو حالنا، فكان فيسبوك شوي وايد في ذيك المنطقه مو وايد صوبنا احنا كخليج. فقلت دش شوي على تويتر، دشيت على تويتر، تميت من 2009 اكتب هناك واحاول اوصل الفكره واشوف شلون الوضع صاير معانا وشلون ربعنا يفكرون، احاول اغير النظره اللي كانت عندهم، نفس اللي نسميها النظره السوداويه هذه. يعني شفنا الاجانب وشفناهم شلون يفكرون، نبي نخلي ربعنا يفكرون شوي بطريقه ثانيه، بس لاحظنا ان الوعي كان ناقص. الوعي عند الناس شوي، في بعض الاشياء الناس ما تبي تتكلم عنها، فغيرتها ودشيت على الفيديوز. سويت اول فيديو، ثاني فيديو، شفت الناس تتفاعل معاه. طبعا الفيديوهات لو اسويها دائما بالعربي، فدائما في المواضيع اللي الناس يبون يتكلمون عنها، لكن نقول مستحين او منحرجين ان يطرحونها، فانا اطرحها بالفيديوهات. جاتني تعليقات وايد سلبيه، قالوا مو من حقك ليش تتكلم فيها، لكن في ناس وايد الحمد لله انتفعوا من وراها. في ذاك الوقت كنت ابى اشوف شغله المرض من وين تجي. شغله المرض طلعت عندنا من وين؟ النفسيه كان لها دور وايد عود. يعني اذا نتكلم عن النفسيه، خلينا نقول 70 ل 80% من الاوادم اللي فيهم امس ياهم المرض من صدمه نفسيه. طبعا احنا عقب ما سالنا اكثر من مريض، 70 ل 80 مريض، وسالناهم طلع انه هو صج كان عندهم ايموشنال ستيت المشكله. فطلعت هالقانون، يمكن في احد منكم شاف الفيديو على يوتيوب. 70 30. شنو 70 شنو 30؟ الادويه اللي قال عنهم الدكتور مساعه، اول ادويه اللي طلعوا في 2009 طبعا كانوا ياثرون على المريض 30%، يعني انه يساعدونه 30%، باقي 70. ال70 هذه الباقيه، وفي ادويه طبعا ترتفع لل 50، في ادويه ترتفع لل 60 وال70. بس احنا نتحكى هنا عن ال 30% هذه لان في 70% ثانيه الواحد يغفل عنها. زين، ال 70% هذه اللي الواحد يغفل عنها خلينا نقسمها زود. 40% منها نفسيه. 30% الباقيه اذا كانت حسبتي صح، 30% الباقيه تعتمد على الاكل والرياضه نفس ما شرح لنا مساعد الدكتور. ال 40% هذه انا اشتغلت عليها. يعني انا معناته ان انا استلم ادويه فقط، مو معناته ان نفسيتي لازم تكون دائما نازله، معناته ان الدواء يمكن ما يشتغل معي. في نفس الوقت اذا كان اكلي غلط، تحرك مالي غلط، انا مش رياضي لكن على الاقل امشي في اليوم كيلو كيلوين على حكم الشغل اللي انا اشتغل فيه. ففي ذاك الوقت نفس ما قلنا انه كان على ايام 2009 2010 والادويه في ذاك الوقت، فقلت خلينا نطلع شغله ثانيه. ساعدت ناس وايد لله الحمد، وايضا انتقاداتي ولله الحمد. الحين في طريقه ثانيه حق المشاكل. طبعا ما في احد ما عنده مشكله في الدنيا، احنا ما نتكلم عن الام اس بس، احنا نتكلم عن فاينانشال، نتكلم عن مشكله اسريه، مشكله حياتيه. فطلعت بهالشغله اللي يسمونها اد كونسبت. الاد كونسبت الاي ستاندز حق شنو؟ حق امبريسنج. الامبريسنج ان الواحد يحتضن الحاله اللي هو فيها. معناته انا الوقت اللي صادني بالتصلب لازم اعترف بالحاله. يعني في ناس يقول لك لا انا فيني ام اس بس انا مو معترف ان انا فيني ام اس. مروا عليكم هذولين يقول لك لا انا مو معترف انا فيني ام اس. زين انت شلون بتعيش حياتك اذا انت مو معترف؟ شلون بتطوف؟ اذا انا شفت حفره قدامي وانا مو معترف ان الحفره موجوده ما في امل اطوفها. فالشغله فيها هني لازم اعترف ان الحاله موجوده. الشغله الثانيه لازم اتقبل ان الحاله موجوده، ان انا ما اقدر اغير فيها شيء. هي من رب العالمين، ليش عطاني اياها؟ هني انا بعرف شو اقدر اسوي مع حياتي بعدين. طبعا قلنا البدايه احتضان الحاله، تقبل الحاله والاعتراف فيها. نروح بعدين نخلي التصلب في المخ. نفس ما قال الدكتور مساعه، لازم نخلي التصلب في المخ. اي ما يصير اقول انا نسيت ان انا فيني ام اس، انا خلاص بنسى الموضوع ما بفكر فيه. طبعا وراك اكل غلط، وراك نفسيه غلط، وراك مشاكل تصيدك دار مدارك. ليش؟ بتقعد بعدين ما تهتم فيها وتطيح في واحده من الاتاكس اللي يصيرون، او حتى السيمتومز نفسهم يزيدون اذا انت نسيت ان فيك ام اس. انت ذكرنا فينا ام اس، مو معناته انه بالدقيقه بنقول لنا فينا ام اس وبنقعد في الوضع اللي احنا كئيبين ولا انا فيني ام اس والحياه وقفت. لا بالعكس، والله العظيم شفت اوادم وصلوا والسب الام اس اللي فيهم. dismantling الدي الثانيه مساعه قلنا اي دي، فالدي الثانيه dismantling the problem اللي هو تقسيم التحديات نفسها. انا بالنسبه لي خذيت الام اس كامل 100%، حطيته قدامي كذي على اساس انه هو مشكله عوده حصتها 100%، قسمتها حق 4 اقسام. الاربعه اقسام هذه احنا نتحكى عن 25% هي المجتمع اللي انا فيه. طبعا المجتمع اللي انا فيه اقدر اشرح لكم شغله شو اسمه. المجتمع اللي انا فيه قاعد اتكلم عن اهل، قاعد اتكلم عن ربع، قاعد اتكلم عن كل واحد حولي. شلون نقدر نشرح حق الناس اللي عندنا ان الواحد عنده تصلب؟ الغرشه هذه نقول انها هي المايلين اللي موجوده، الحبل الشوكي موجود داخل. هذه احنا عندنا بكل بساطه هذه متآكله. يجينا الاميون سيستم يشوف ان العصب مفتوح، شيء جديد يضربه، في حالة الاضراب العصب تصير عندنا المشاكل الصحيه الثانيه. بهالطريقه انا فهمتهم بغرشه ماي واقدر اشرح لهم باي شيء ثاني بهالبساطه. بس انا خليت المجتمع اللي حولي يتفهم. انا ما ابي شفقه، انا ابي الناس تفهم. بس اللي طلع مني شيء غلط ان الواحد عارف هذا مو مني، هذا من احد ثاني. انا عن نفسي ذاك اليوم كنت طالع بالسياره وطلعت على الهاي واي، وقفت مو عارف انا وين رايح. فشوي تذكرت ان انا رايح المجمع، وصلت المجمع ما ادري ليش انا هناك. طلع عقب ان المشكله اللي عندي الفيتامين بي 7 ناقص، فالدكتور قال لي خذه وتكون امورك طيبه. هني يوم انا كنت مع الاهل بالسياره فهموا ليش انا هالمشكله، لكن انا ما قلت لهم، لما فهمتهم المشكله شنو عمرهم ما بيعرفون. ولت لي مجتمع حولي يفهم، الشغل يفهمون، الدراسه يفهمون، الربع يفهمون. فهني انا خلصت من شنو؟ قلنا 100%. شنو ال 25%؟ نروح حق ال 25% الثانيه. 25% الثانيه كان عندي ايضا تحدي في الشغله. صادني امس شلون بشتغل؟ وين بشتغل؟ من بياخذني؟ ايش بسوي؟ ايش بروح؟ لا بالعكس، كانت لي فرصه. انا كنت اشتغل كميديكال اسيستنت كوردينيتور، وبعدين اشتغلت في الكليمز. طبعا الكليمز ديبارتمنت اللي هي المطالبات التامين، مطالبات تامين، يعني الواحد عنده مشكله اللي هو الكليمز ديبارتمنت، واحد عنده مشكله هواش، الفلوس ما اندفعت هواش، الفلوس تاخرت هواش، معناته الستريس ليفل اللي فيها الشغله جدا عالي. بالضبط. قلت وقف. طبعا انا هاي تجربتي، ما قاعد اقول حق احد فنش من شغلك. طلعت وقفت، قلت انا احب الاعلام من يوم كنت صغير، اطلع من الشغله اللي انا كنت فيها. في 2011 قررت ان انا اترك الشغل اللي انا كنت فيه، اشتغل في شغله ثانيه، كونتراكت سنه واحده. الكونتراكت هاي كان في شركات، صرت ميديا كونسلتنت. ميديا كونسلتنت كانت ميديا كونسلتنسي، شركه استشارات اعلاميه، فانا كنت ميديا كونسلتنت، فكنت اسوي ريبورتات ما ريبورتات وهذه اعلاميه، اروح نفس نقول تغطيات صحفيه ما تغطيات صحفيه، تصوير ما تصوير، بالاحرى عايش الدور كاعلامي. خلصت السنه وخلص الكونتراكت، 6 اشهر تميت في البيت. انزين، هل تحسفت ان انا اخذت القرار؟ قلت لله الحمد، من يوم صغير وانا بصير اعلامي، شوي كبرت كلش اللي اسويه فيديوهات على اليوتيوب، والحين دشيت لي على الميديا، والحين قاعد في البيت. طبعا ايضا قاعد ادور شغل احبه. الحين الحمد لله اشتغل كايفنت سبيشالست وادفايزر حق ستودنت كونسل في احد الجامعات، والله الحمد شغلي مع الطلبه مستانس عليه وايد، فانا مرتاح. ليش هالسالفه كلها اللي اقول لكم اياها؟ لان انا ادور لي شغله اروحها وانا مستانس، طالع وانا مستانس، راد البيت مرتاح نفسيا. شنو يكون عندي الوضع؟ افتكيت من 25% ولا لا؟ افتكيت. هاي 25% الثانيه. والدراسه ايضا نفس الشيء، اذا احنا نتكلم عن انا ادرس شيء احبه ولا شيء مغصوب عليه، لا شكل كبير جدا في النفسيه. 25% من تبع الزواج. في ناس ضحكوا، ما ادري ليش ابتسموا وشي بابتسامه عريضه. الزواج، حزه الواحد نتكلم عنه، الزواج والامس نحسبها شوي، ان ترى اذا الواحد او الوحده رحنا قلنا لهم وتفهموا الوضع ان الواحد فيه امس وعارف اللي بيجي بعدين، والله العظيم بيتمون معاكم على طول. هو فاهم، يعني هو قبل الباكج كامل وعارف هو شنو ممكن يصير، فتفهم الشخص نفسه حق الشغله، عارفين بيعيش حياه جدا ما بيحاتي فيها. الشخص بيشيله شيل، هاي اذا كان الشخص فاهم. فتخيلوا كان الواحد مو فاهم تصير مشكله عوده. فانت كونك كان عندك الامس ولا كان غير الامس، لازم في فتره اللي تفكر في الزواج، خلينا نقول تكون صريح جدا. انا عن روحي صارحت وتكلمت فيها، والحمد لله اموري طيبه. فهذه كان التحدي الثالث اللي عندي عن موضوع الزواج. التحدي الاخير اللي هو خلينا نقول الناس اكثرها تخاف منه، اللي هو المستقبل. لو بنحسبها بس في العالم كامل عندنا 50% من الناس يموتون وهم نايمين. 50% من الناس يموتون حزت لي يكونوا راقدين. هل منع ال50 الثانية انهم يسوون لهم بلان حق اليوم اللي عقبه؟ وقفهم؟ ما وقف احد. انا كل يوم اطق سلف واروح الدوام واطلع من البيت 6:30 عشان اضرب البصمة الساعة كم؟ الساعة 7. هل انا افكر في 70,000 مشكلة اللي ممكن تصيدني وانا في الدرب رايح الدوام؟ لا، ما افكر فيها. ليش؟ لان حاط في بالي اللي الله بيجيبه وانا مستعد في هاللحظة. فهذه انا بعدين القرار اللي باخذه الحين والقرار اللي باخذه بعدين بيكون كله يعتمد على ال50% هذه، او بالاحرى ال25% هذه اللي هي المستقبل. ترى احنا ما ندري شنو بيصير. انا اليوم هني، انا باكر ما حد. فكوني شو اختلف في الموضوع؟ كوني انا مريض امس ولا مو مريض امس؟ مريض امس، مريض انا مو مريض ضغط، مريض سكر، اي شيء في الدنيا. حتى لو صاحي، الصاحي ما يدري باكر ايش بيسوي. فهل اخاف من المستقبل؟ لا داعي، ما له داعي. هاي ليش الواحد يتوكل على رب العالمين. الامس بالنسبه لي كان سبب. طبعا ما خليته شماعه، مسكين صرت انا شماعته. خلينا نقول نفس ما يقولون الاوادم، الامس تحسف انه ياني انا. الامس كان لي سبب وايد عود، لان في 2011 قررت ان انا اطلع من شغلي وابتدي الحياه اللي انا فيها اليوم. يعني لو انا قبلت ان انا اتم في شركه التامين اللي كنت تام فيها لذاك اليوم، والله العظيم ربعي لليوم من 2011 قاعدين على نفس البوزيشن، على نفس الشغل. هل بكون مرتاح؟ ما اكون مرتاح. طلعت لي ويب سايت. طبعا الويب سايت للحين ما اشتغل، فلا تدورونه. انا شفت واحده شارت تليفون تبي تدش الويب سايت. الويب سايت للحين، لكن الويب سايت منه اسوي تريننج، اسوي كوتشنج، سيرتيفايد لايف كوتش نفس ما قالت اختنا، سيرتيفايد ترينر في مجال الامس وغير الامس عشان نطلع منه. الحمد لله رب العالمين قدرت اروح على اكثر من ستيج نتكلم عن الموضوع ونتكلم عن مواضيع ثانيه، اكثر من شركه طلبونا ولله الحمد. لو ما كان الامس موجود كان ما صار اللي صار. كان عندي هاشتاج على تويتر يمكن بعضكم شافه، لو لم اكن متصلبا لما صار ولما صار لما صار، كان ترند في ذاك الوقت ولله الحمد في ناس وايد استفادوا من الموضوع. الشغله الثانيه، عقب ما صرت سبيكر اجتمعت مع ناس، اجتمعت مع المسعف دولي فهد ياقوت، وعندنا فاطمه العطاوي احد السبيكريه اللي كانوا معي في الايفنت اللي طاف. وطبعا فكره ويكير بحرين كانت تشاريتي اويرنس من قبل، لكن الحين طلعت مره ثانيه والسبه ان بديت في المجال تبع السبيكينج. الفكره هذه تطبق باذن الله في الخليج، يعني قاعده تصير سالفه، يعني طبعا الامارات دائما سباقه في الموضوع، فيكون عندها نوع التوكس والسبيتشز هذه، واحنا نحاول ان شاء الله باذن الله نخليه في البحرين. اخر مره كنت قاعد مع اثنين اللي هم فهد ياقوت وفاطمه العطاوي، وعندهم قصص. فهد ياقوت مسعف دولي ما خلى مكان ما راحه، والسبب انه هو يحب الاسعافات فقط. فاطمه هذه يسمونها الامل بكبره. فاطمه كانت تخيط، خسرت يدها في حادث، الحين عندها يد واحده. ايش صارت؟ صارت ستايلست ديزاينر وعندها براندز هير اون. فوين الامل ما يلاقي له مكان ويا هالاشخاص؟ فاذا كان في ناس، خلينا نقول في واحد حتى ذاك اليوم يقول لي فاطمه تكسر خاطري. قلت له مو فاطمه اللي تكسر الخاطر، اللي يكسر الخاطر اللي عنده يدين ومو قادر يسوي فيهم شيء، هذا اللي يكسر الخاطر. اخر شيء كتبت هذه قبل كم من سنه، فهمت قصدها اليوم. The blanket doesn't have to look good to keep you warm. البلانكت اللي هم انتم تسوونه مره برنوس، الحاف، ايش يسمونه يا جماعه الخير؟ انقذونا عيال الامارات. شنو؟ بطانيه. البطانيه حزت اللي احنا بردانين. بالضبط برنوس، ولا يهمك طال عمرك. البرنوس لا وايد قويه في الفيديو. البطانيه تكون ما نهتم احنا شكلها شنو يكون بالضبط، في حزه البرد بتدفينا. انا بطانيتي الامس والله الحمد، يعني حسيت روحي ان انا كامل، ويعطيكم العافيه.
As we know, the face of MS in the last 6 years has changed with many more options of medications that Dr. Wu has spoken about. And of course, we understood the many benefits that we have to these medications. However, you still find some people who would prefer not to take the medications and just focus on lifestyle changes. And so I would like to ask you both, what are your thoughts on this?
Okay. Go first.
She was pointing at me with that question, but she needs your medical opinion first, please.
Okay. So when we take care of people with MS, the most important thing is to create a dialogue so everybody feels comfortable. So it's very important when we try to achieve what we call shared decision making. I've been lucky enough to sit on an international board with the MS Association of America, and we're in the process of writing what's called a white paper, a statement paper on the treatment of MS and how can we better treat and understand MS as far as people's needs. But the first thing really is to understand what the patient goals are. We find that doctors think they're so smart. They're not so smart.
Exactly.
They need to listen to the patient to see what the goals of the person is that they're dealing with. So if they're not going to take medication, they need to understand what the medication can help them with, but also understand, look, if I'm putting a medication in my body, what are the potential side effects? What kind of things could happen? So there has to be an honest dialogue. And so we have to respect the person, because ultimately they're the boss. I can only bring the information, try to help make a shared decision with them, and encourage them to see what may help them, what may not help them.
Okay, Mahmood?
Have like the same opinion somewhere. I've been using. I never used. I don't want to lie about it. I didn't use your medication since 2009. Been diagnosed back then, but because I never been convinced with the doctor's opinion, because that would go live. All right. So you want me to continue in English, or تبينا غير بالعربي?
As you're comfortable, as you like.
انزين. You got the answer, right? All right. أنا يمكن أغلبيتهم يدرون جماعة الخير ربعنا أن تقريبا 2009 وقت التصلب اللي صادني ما استعملت أي أدوية في ذاك الوقت، وكان السبب أن طريقة إعطاء الأدوية كانت عشوائية، يعني ما كان يقنعني إنه بيقول لي ليش أنا أعطيك الدواء الفلاني. في ذاك الوقت طبعا احنا نتكلم على 2009، وكان يعني الأتاك اللي عندي متباعدة، يعني كان اتاك اليوم، اتاك السنه الجايه، وساعات عقب 3 سنين. فكانت الشغله كان يقول لي اتس ريلابس ريميتنج، بس في نفس الوقت عقب 4 سنين من انا رحت له مره ثانيه وقال لي اوكي انت يمكن فيك نوع اسمه بناين مالتيبل سكلروسيس اللي هو النوع الحميد، واللي هو النوع اللي ما يطلع وايد. طبعا انا مو ضد الادويه، انا بالعكس انا اشجع ان الناس يستعملون الادويه، لكن الدواء اللي يناسبهم. يعني اذا الدكتور كان واضح في الموضوع يقدر يوصل ان الدواء اللي ياخذه الشخص صحيح ويناسبه. طبعا افتر فيو تيست لازم يشيك عليه، هني انا بقتنع. بس تعال خلينا نشيك عليك 1، خلينا نشيك عليك 2، خلينا نشيك عليك 3، يلا يمشي معاه. هاي النظام ما ينفع. فهاي اعتقد كانت السياسه القبليه، لكن الحين شوي الدكاتره توعوا بالموضوع.
Dr. Wu, this is a question from someone who's asking about if there's another way to detect MS other than MRI, because many people are claustrophobic and cannot be in small places, such as the MRI.
Yes. So to diagnose MS, we have to look at the story of the person and what they experienced to try to determine could those symptoms they had now or even years ago be related to MS attacks or relapses. Second, we do find the MRI scan is the most useful test to diagnose MS. In the United States, and perhaps here, there are what are called open MRI scans. So instead of a tube, there's no tube, there's no tunnel. So for those of you who are claustrophobic, there's actually a box that comes over you, but the sides are totally open. So therefore, for people who are claustrophobic, afraid of the space, they could actually look around and see there's space all around them. In the US, we also, with all MRI scans that we use in Santa Monica, you could also watch your favorite movie if you wanted to. You could bring your iPhone or your Droid and play the music you like to also relax. The other things we used to do we use for diagnosis of MS is sometimes we will do a spinal tap, a lumbar puncture. I mentioned I've had that done on myself for my research, so I know how it feels, but it can be very useful. The problem with that is sometimes we do that and it's normal, but it doesn't mean that the person doesn't have MS. So the spinal tap is only helpful if it has one of 3 abnormalities.
Okay. Mahmood, in your experience with the patient care, maybe in Bahrain or just generally, what were the missing components that were your drive to actually speak about MS care in several countries?
شوفي الموضوع اللي كان في ذاك الوقت وللحين موجود على اساس انه هو خلينا نقول التثقيف الصح في المرض. يعني الناس للحين يطالع لك يروح لك على جوجل نفس ما قال الدكتور من ساعه، يطالع لك الاعراض كلها ويقول لك لا انا خلاص تنتهي حياتي بتمشي لذي، وهو يمكن في اقل القليل من الامس، ويمكن الحين ما داش له اتاك مثل الناس. فهذه واحده. الشغله الثانيه اللي اكثر من المشاكل اللي صايره تفاهم البيت، تفاهم الاهل. يعني اغلب الناس اللي يجون يقول لي والله حاول تتكلم عن النسيان لان حزه اللي انسى اهلي ما يفهمون، ولا حاول تكلمهم ترى احنا ناس حالنا حال غيرنا لانهم راضين يفهمون. خصوصا تحكي عن مجتمعات يعني شوي تكون مغلقه على بعض، يعني ما يكون الشخص وايد مندمج مع المجتمع اللي برا، فصاير وضعه شوي صعب في بعض الدول. ما بتكلم عن دوله محدده، بس صايره الثقافه نفسها عن المرض مش جدا موجوده.
بس شو عن المستشفى نفسها؟ كنت تتكلم عن مثلا الصحة النفسية أو السوشيال وركرز، كيف ممكن هذيلا يأثرون على
أوكي،
على
يعني
العلاج؟
أنا جاوبت على سؤال ثاني بدون ما أدري، بس أوكي. الشغلة هذه في كليفلاند هوسبيتال تكلمنا عن الموضوع. عندنا طريقة الأبروتش اللي تصير من قبل الدكتور، يعني واحد في MS يجي له شخص، طبعا احنا صارت عندنا في الديرة حق مرضى عمرهم 12 سنة 14 سنة، ولدكم في مرض خطير، ولدكم في مطر كله منك في مرض خطير، وهذا وضعه، ويعطيه الورست كيس سيناريو اللي ممكن يصير معاه. يعني الدكتور قاعد يوصل المعلومه بطريقه مو بس سوداويه، خلى السوداويه تطلع حد بالضبط، كانه يقول له خلاص يبا ما منك فايده. في نفس الوقت اللي بنروح نتكلم عن البراكتس اللي موجود عندهم هناك بامريكا، قريت في عندهم براكتس في مايو كلينيك، والحين اكتشفت من الدكتور ان عندهم نفس الشيء. يجونك شخصين عشان يقولون حق الشخص انه في MS، يجي لك السوشيال وركر ويجي لك الدكتور نفسه، وساعات يكون حتى الدكتور النفساني موجود، يبي يفهم العائله شنو هو المرض، يعطيهم شتى الزوايا حق المرض نفسه عشان يقدر يوصل لهم ويعطيهم المرض بشكل انه هو ترى الحين كنترولد، ان الحين الادويه تطورت، ترى لا تخافون، حاسبوا على نفسيتهم، حاسبوا على هذا وحاسبوا على ذاك. فهاي الابروتش كله مو موجود. فيوم تكلمنا في كليفلاند قلنا ان القسم كله ناقصكم شخصين، سوشيال وركر وعندكم دكتور نفساني عشان يقدر يوصل المعلومه حق احد اذا قلتوا لنا في MS. مو تقليلا في الطبيب اللي موجود هناك، يمكن الطبيب عنده تالنت في الموضوع، بس هذولين عندهم خبره اكثر مع المجتمع انه يوصلون لهم الفكره. فهذه كان اللي اقوله.
Dr. Wu, as Ramadan is coming up, maybe Saturday or Sunday actually this week, and bearing in mind the hot weather as well, do you have any tips for those with MS who will be fasting? And also tips about working out as well during Ramadan, whether it's during their fasting hours or after?
So remind me, during Ramadan, is it permissible to drink water?
So we don't drink or eat anything until, let's say, about 7 p.m. in the evening.
Right. So in that case, certainly to try to limit activity, and also what I mentioned before, some of those cooling devices are very clever. The cooling devices I mentioned that you can wear as a scarf, as a vest, as a head wrap, where you put them in the refrigerator or the freezer for a few hours, and they could stay cold for several hours. So especially for people who are very sensitive to heat, those things can be very helpful. And also decreasing stress, as we've talked about.
Thank you.
Too. Yes.
Okay. Another question is, do you have to stay on medication forever, or can you stop after improvement?
Yes. So the question about staying on medication forever until there's something better. Again, when I began my training, there was only one medication, and now there are 15 to choose from. And I certainly, we always want to make sure the person understands all the benefits and all the risks. I cannot force the person to take a medication, but we also are obligated to provide all the information and make sure they understand what can help. So the answer to the question, yes, the medications will be lifelong until a better medication comes along. And certainly, since 1993, past 24 years, we all have many people who have switched and changed medications and found things to be better. So it's nice to have more options because of the research going on.
Thank you. I would like to thank all of our speakers. We're going to have to end the Q&A session due to the time. We would like to thank you all for joining us today, and we hope to see you in our future talks. The speakers are going to stay here to get your direct questions and could speak with you one-on-one. So please stay behind if you would like to ask them any questions. وفي الختام لا يسعنا إلا أن نتقدم بجزيل الشكر على حضوركم ومشاركتكم لنا اليوم، على أن نلقاكم في جلسات منتدى قادمة. ونود أن ننوه أن المتحدثون سيبقون معنا في القاعة لبضع الوقت فالإجابة على أسئلتكم المباشرة، فابقوا معنا في حال لديكم أي أسئلة. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
شكرا.